Well, cruisers, San Juan and St. Martin are the two ports that we're going to be taking a look at today with our very special guest, Colleen Mcdaniel, one of the senior editors of the Cruise Critic site. So get your questions ready, as she knows a lot about these ports and cruising in general. Also, our photo of the week this week is going to come from Royal Caribbean International News Group, and my co-host Matt Hochberg is absent from this week's show because he is in the middle of the sea on a cruise ship. But he left us a little video in his absence. We're also going to have the latest cruise news and details of our next trip on Oasis of the Seas. All this and much, much more coming right up because this is Cruise Week TV Live. What's going on, cruisers? I'm Joe, and I'm still classified as a newbie cruiser, and I think mostly that's because everyone else seems to be going on cruises and leaving me back at the studio. But that's okay, because I have you all to talk to as well as our guests, and tonight we're going to be covering two ports that our producer Bird is going to be going to in August on Oasis of the Seas. That's San Juan and St. Martin, and he's going to be doing live events from both of those ports and taking you guys along on some great tours he has lined up. But before he goes, he wants to find out more about the culture and the area. And he brought in a special guest today with a lot of experience in cruising, and she also runs one of the biggest, if not the biggest, cruise forums out there. But before we talk to Colleen, I want to tell you guys about an upcoming cruise on the Carnival Horizon that we all are going on. And yes, even me, finally. And we want you all to join us on the ship of the Cruise Week Live Cruise. That's right, we're going to be going on the brand new Carnival Horizon for our first ever Cruise Week Live group cruise. The date for that is February 23rd, 2019, and if you book through Good Memories Travel, you'll be entered into Cruise Week drawing to win $500 credit. Now, to get the credit, you need to put down a deposit by July 31st of this year. Not only that, but you get to come along with myself, Matt, and Bird on our live streaming cruise. We're going to be visiting Grand Turk, San Juan, St. Kitts, St. Martin, and so you got to call Good Memories Travel and book and enter into the $500 cash drawing. But whatever cruise you're planning to be on, if you want to save money, give them a call. You get the same great rates as booking yourself, plus you may get an onboard credit or a customer reward. Yes, they actually give you money to go cruise with. They enjoy planning and helping with weddings and honeymoons, and they're fully licensed by the CLIA, which stands for Cruise Lines International Association, and they've also been earmarked by Disney. Good Memories Travel also specializes in handling every aspect of your group cruise, family getaway, or that family reunion that you've been wanting to plan. Imagine letting someone else do all of the work while you get to relax. Debbie can work directly with the cruise line to organize onboard parties, events, and the wedding service, which is one less thing you have to worry about. Debbie can also take card points, so if you have, let's say, an American Express rewards card, you can use the points to pay for your next cruise. Good Memories Travel also plans various Christian-related group cruises. Their God is Good group cruise is coming up, so be sure to check that out on their website. They handle, of course, cruises for all cruise lines, Carnival, Royal, MSC, Norwegian, and much more all over the world. Debbie Smith is part of Cruise Planners, so give her a call to see what they can do for you. It doesn't cost you anything to look them up and get your best rate. Call Debbie for a free no-obligation quote on your next cruise. What have you got to lose? Debbie can be reached at 321-338-2953 and, of course, through their website at goodmemoriestravel.com. And let them know you heard about them right here on cruiseweek.tv. So, one of the first forums I found when I was looking for a cruise was Cruise Critic, and they have a lot of cruise information and a very active and extremely large members forum. We've asked one of their senior editors of the forum, Colleen, to join us today and talk about the ports of San Juan and St. Martin to help Bird plan his trip a little bit better. Welcome to the show, Colleen. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from New Jersey, I believe, right?
New Jersey, yes, it's great to be here.
Well, it's great to have you, and honestly, I hope the weather up there is much better than it has been here, but as I understand it, it hasn't been lately.
Yeah, not today.
Yeah, so sorry to hear that. So, Colleen, tell me a little bit about Cruise Critic. What exactly, for the people that don't know, what exactly is Cruise Critic? How did it get started, and how did it get to the point where it is today?
Sure. Cruise Critic is the world's largest cruise website. We began actually more than 20 years ago now. We started as a forum back in the days of AOL and continued to grow, adding in reviews, port profiles, editorial content like tips, and uh, also we've started collecting member reviews. So we've become the place to go to get reviews of cruises.
Now, as a senior editor for Cruise Critic, you must get to travel quite a bit. Tell me how many cruises you've been on so far, and what cruise lines across all of them.
Sure. Yeah, I am very fortunate. I do get to travel quite a bit. I've probably been on between 50 and 60 cruises. I've started at Cruise Critic about 5 years ago, but I was an avid cruiser long before I started here. We love cruising at Cruise Critic. We're fans, so that's a big part of what we do. I've been on a little bit of everything, a lot of the big mainstream ships that we all love, and then some of the luxury lines and river cruise lines and that kind of thing. So I had a lot of experience on a bunch of different kinds of cruises.
Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing that you get to go on so many kinds of cruises. And I love your office in the background there. That's so for the viewers, in case you don't know, they have paintings of all different ports in their office, and I think she's got Venice behind her today. Is that right?
I do, yes. I have Venice behind me, one of my favorite ports.
Wonderful. So you've been to the Mediterranean, you've been to the Caribbean, and actually the Caribbean is where we're going to really be talking about today because Zach has he's got a cruise coming up and he's going to be going to San Juan and Saint Martin. Um, so now I'd like to know a little bit about San Juan because I've never been to Puerto Rico. I've always wanted to go, but I've wanted to see things like the rainforest. And San Juan, is it anywhere close to the rainforest, or would I be able to book an excursion if I went to San Juan?
Yeah, one of the very cool things about San Juan is it's both an embarkation port and a port of call. So a lot of cruises, especially those that cruise to the Southern Caribbean, leave from San Juan. But it's also a port of call for a lot of cruise lines. And that's because it's a very cool port. You can do a lot of different kinds of activities when you're there. You can, visit the historic forts. You can explore the old city. You can enjoy the restaurants and the culture. You can go to the beaches, and you absolutely can see some rainforest.
Well, that would be the part that I'd totally be interested in because I love the historical stuff of the island. I love the historic forts and whatnot. Now, going on a cruise there, I'm not sure if because I've been looking into Puerto Rico and I can't decide about cruising there versus actually like going another way because I mean, if you go on a cruise, you get to see the whole island during the daytime, which is, don't get me wrong, beautiful. I've seen absolutely beautiful pictures. But I hear some good things about the nightlife in Puerto Rico, and I'm not sure if you'd know anything about that as much as you would about on the cruise, like during the day.
Sure. Actually, many of the cruise ships, excuse me, the cruise ships that stop in Puerto Rico are there later because the nightlife is so fantastic. So many cruise ships leave, really a lot later at night than they typically do. So whereas in other ports they might leave at 5 or 6 o'clock, they generally stay until 9, 10 o'clock at night. So people can absolutely sort of sample that nightlife. Additionally, they've got some cool night excursions, like there's a bioluminescent kayaking trip you can take.
Marvelous. See, that would be the stuff that I'd be interested in as well, because that's something that you wouldn't get to see in many other ports. So now, what about like San Juan itself as a city? Like, let's say I didn't book an excursion, I just kind of want to go and cruise San Juan. How is San Juan compared to some other ports in the Caribbean?
So it's the you get off the ship in San Juan and you are right there. You can walk right into the old town. It feels Caribbean, but it also has an American feel to it. People are really comfortable, really friendly. There's history right away when you walk off the ship, and you can see statues and learn about the history of San Juan. You can learn about the culture there. There are a ton of bars and restaurants that are walking distance. You can actually even walk to the forts, and that's one of the most common cruise excursions that people do is they do the fort tours. But if you want to skip the cruise ship excursion, you can actually just walk to them.
That's pretty exciting. Now, the are both dock ports or tender ports? We got that question
Both are
from
dock
Facebook.
ports.
Okay.
Yep, both are dock ports.
All right, wonderful. Well, that's good to know. Now, the other destination that we're going to be hitting up is St. Martin, it looks like. So now, St. Martin, I've had guests on the show talking about St. Martin in the past. And I've learned a little bit about the history of St. Martin. I know St. Martin has a French side and it has a Dutch side. I think the northernmost side, or well, the north and south sides are one's French, one is Dutch. And I've learned too. Actually, I just learned this more recently that the spelling of St. Martin can be different. Um, it's I think it's the double A for the Dutch side. Do you
That's
have any
correct, yes.
explanation on that, or?
Yeah, it's the Dutch spelling of Martin, so it's Marten, versus the French spelling is the standard Martin. So most cruise ships that dock are going to dock on the Dutch side, especially the big cruise ships.
So if let's say the cruise ship's docking there, you got a good 8 or 9 hours to spend. Because that sounds like that's what it's going to be for the cruise there. Is going to be for the Oasis to when they dock there. It's going to be 8 or 9 hours on the island. St. Martin, as I understand it, it's not a huge island, but would that be enough time to maybe like go around the perimeter of the island, see a little bit of everything, or would that just still be you stay on one side kind of?
Yeah, no, you absolutely can see both sides in 9 hours. I believe the best way to see the island is by boat. It's beautiful turquoise waters. There's a ton of boat operators there, so you can get off. You can take a water taxi to the beaches. You can find a private guide. You can book a cruise ship excursion, of course. But I'm a real proponent of getting on the water and visiting the island that way. You can do a speedboat, you can do something a little more leisurely, but it's a great way to really see the island. And then you get the sights. You get to see, the French part. You get to see the Dutch part. You can see Maho Beach, which of course everybody knows for its famous airport right behind. People love to hit Maho Beach and watch the big airplanes go by.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of pictures of people standing on Mahu Beach, looking up, like reaching up, sort of trying to touch the airplanes. I always thought that was so cool. And if I ever when I make it to St. Martin, that's one thing that I definitely wanna go do. Um, so and so tell me now St. Martin. You said you like to tour it by boat. Um, It sounds to me like you might miss a lot of the land that way, though. It was there like I mean, can you tour it by boat and then see the stuff like more inland as well, or would you have
Of
time for that?
course, yeah. You could do any combination of that. Where you're getting that land tour as well. There are a number of tour companies out there that offer exactly that. Part land, part sea. If you're a beach lover, that might be the way to hit multiple beaches as well. And there are some of the best beaches in the Caribbean in St. Martin.
Wow. I'm so looking forward to going. I gotta tell you, even though I'm not going on this next cruise that Zach has coming up, I'm still very much looking forward to it. So now, do you have a preference yourself between the French or the Dutch sides of the island? Because you say they're vastly different. Or you mentioned that to me before the show started that both of them are completely different.
They really are different. And I like both sides for different reasons. I feel like a lot of people don't actually venture out to the French side. So it tends to be a little quieter. If you're looking for that quiet beach escape, the French side is a great place to go. Just be aware that you might find some naturalists on the French side that you won't find on the Dutch side. Uh, yeah,
So
and the
yeah.
food though, yeah. Oh, excuse me, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. That's all. You're good.
Yeah, the food on both sides is great, and you can find some really casual fare like the beach fare, fresh fish, rice and beans, that kind of thing. But you can also find dishes that are tied to the countries associated with St. Martin and St. Martin. So French, you can get some really kind of classic French dishes at some upscale restaurants on the French side. Likewise, you can find places that have traditional Dutch dishes on the Dutch side.
Very nice. So now you mentioned earlier as well about tours. Are there any great tours on the island that someone absolutely has to take? Anything they can't miss?
Oh. That's a
I
great
hope I didn't stump you.
question. This is a personal preference. I love to be on the water. So anything that like has multiple beach stops that gets you to some snorkel sites. I like to do the speedboat stuff, but if you're not quite that, if that's not your speed, there are certainly slower speed ones. But I love that boat tour.
Marvelous. So, now, excursions in Puerto Rico for people who have walking limitations. I had somebody ask this before the show had started. If somebody has any walking limitations, because there's a lot of like cobblestone streets and a lot of steps in San Juan.
Yeah, that is true. And it's definitely something you need to be aware of. It is a dock port, so you don't have to worry about the tender, but you really need to contact your cruise line ahead of your trip to make sure that they can accommodate someone who has mobility issues, and be really clear about what your mobility issue is. Are you somebody that, can walk a little, requires an assistance of a cane or a walker? Are you somebody that really full-time requires a wheelchair? And that's going to make a difference. Your cruise line is your best bet to help you figure out what excursions you can do. That said, you absolutely can research. You can visit a site like Cruise Critic. We do actually have articles on cruising for people with disabilities. But do your research. You can find private excursions as well. And San Juan is one of those bigger ports where there likely is, and forgive me, I don't know if there is for certain, but there likely is or are companies that will be able to handle people with disabilities or limitations. You just need to be very, very clear about what that is.
Excellent, excellent, great piece of advice there. Now, you mentioned earlier when we were talking, you mentioned when we were talking about St. Martin, about places that would have great cuisine that that was pretty special to St. Martin. Now, tell me about San Juan. I was looking for some very unique cuisine in San Juan. What would I be looking for there?
All right, so the dish in San Juan that you have to have is mofongo, which is made with plantains and I believe it's a cornmeal and different kinds of meats. So you can order it with, whatever meat you wish, but it might be shrimp or pork, that kind of thing. And it is absolutely incredible. And the more local, the more gritty, the better.
Yeah. Excellent. That's definitely what I was looking for there. So, and what if I was looking for a really good Puerto Rican rum?
Oh, well, there's a lot of Puerto Rican rum. So you can actually book any number of Puerto Rican rum distillery shore excursions. Most cruise lines offer something along those lines. And it's generally going to take you to the Bacardi distillery, which everybody knows Bacardi.
Oh,
But
yes.
certainly, I'm a fan of popping into a local bar and asking for the local beer, the local spirits, and I want to try the things that the locals drink.
So we got a question in from Facebook. This one comes from Melissa Colby on Facebook. She said last time they were in St. Martin, she did the French and Dutch side, the Dutch island tour, and she said that was absolutely awesome. What would you do? You have what's your opinion on that, Colleen?
On the French and Dutch side tours,
Yes.
yeah, no, I think it's a great way to catch the whole island, and if you've got that 8, 9 hours, that's a lot of time. So you can really, really explore. It is one of the best things to do if you really want to get out there and explore. You absolutely can see both sides.
So now, St. Martin, you can see the whole island, but if you go to San Juan, I don't like Puerto Rico is somewhat bigger. I'm not sure how much bigger than St. Martin, I believe. So Puerto Rico, that might take a couple different trips to San Juan to see the rest of the island. You think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things I love about cruising is that it's a great way to get a taste of the places you might want to come back and spend a little more time in. San Juan is a huge city. It's sprawling, and it's got multiple ecosystems. It's going to be impossible to explore all of that, even that city, in the space of one day. One of the reasons I love it as an embarkation port is you can come in a couple of days ahead of time and really do some exploring there. But if you want to see all of Puerto Rico, yes, Puerto Rico is very large and you're going to need some time.
So now in Puerto Rico, one thing people I know look forward to for sure when they go on a cruise is buying liquor, tobacco products, whatever, duty free, completely.
Hmm.
Now Puerto Rico, as I understand it, since they are a territory of the United States, not necessarily a state, they have different laws on their taxes. Would there be a tax break if I wanted to go down there and get like, let's say I wanted to get a few bottles of good Puerto Rican rum and bring it back to the states? Would they
Yeah,
have
I've
a tax break on it?
Yeah, that one I'm not sure about. I'm afraid that's not my area of expertise. But gosh, if you find out, you can let me know.
Well, if I ever make it to San Juan, I will definitely. And in fact, I think we have a cruise coming up that I'll be going there. So I'll definitely let you know whenever that is. It's not often that I actually get to go on cruises. Most of the time, they leave me behind to talk about them.
That's just
So
not fair.
it's not fair, you know. And I'm glad your job they let you go on all the cruises. Between 50 and 75 so far. You say?
Yeah, somewhere in that range. Yeah.
Wow. So that's and that's pretty impressive. Now, aside from those two ports, are there any other ports that are your favorite in the Caribbean?
I really love personally the Southern Caribbean. Um, I like to be, as I've said a few times, I'm a fan of the water, and I especially like snorkeling and exploring that way. And I think that the Southern Caribbean, especially the ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, offer some of the best snorkeling you'll find. I also love the temperatures, which are really hot, like a lot of the rest of the Caribbean. And I like the climate, which is a little more arid than the rest of the Caribbean, which, tends to be a little bit more humid.
Gotcha. So Deb Faircloth sent in a question. She wants to know, what do you like better? Do you like Mullet Bay or Maho Beach?
Ooh, I think Maho Beach is one of those places you do once, because you want to check it out. I'd say Mullet Bay is the kind of place you go back to.
Ooh, very nice. Very good answer. And of course, um, out of all your now between the Caribbean and Europe, do you have a favorite preference between there? What's your what's and also what is your all-time favorite port?
Oh my gosh, that's a really hard question. I think that the Mediterranean and the Caribbean are so different. It's really depending on what kind of cruise I'm going for. If I'm vacationing with a lot of family and friends, which I tend to like to vacation that way, the Caribbean is a really great, easy way to explore. People feel really comfortable being on their own. And it's very tropical and easy. I think the Mediterranean is something that I love to do if it's my husband and I, or my husband and I and a couple of friends, because it's very historic and not everybody has the same things that they want to do. And it's gorgeous. There's so much to the Mediterranean too. There's so many ports. You think of the biggies like Venice and Rome and Barcelona, but there are a ton of little ports. So I feel like every time I go back, I get to explore someplace different and learn something new. As far as a favorite port ever, that's tough. It changes. I did a cruise to Burma a couple years ago, a river cruise, and really fell in love with some of those teeny tiny ports there. But it's not the kind of ports where you're kicking back on a beach or something like that. But it was a fascinating cruise and one of my favorite learning experiences ever.
Awesome. So we're gonna start to wrap the interview up, so because it's getting it is getting late, but I'm very much enjoying this.
Good.
But before we wrap it up, we'll take one or two more questions. What's the place that surprised you the most that you visited
Uh,
in a goofy way? Let's say that in a goofy. What's a place that kind of surprised you in a goofy way?
well, a goofy way. That's I think actually I'm going to go with St. Thomas, which is a pretty standard cruise port. But for me, it's I've been there a number of times, and every time I go, I try something different, and I always feel like I'm in a different place. One time you'll do the beaches because St. Thomas. Another time I did a running excursion that took us on a 3-mile run through the city and gave us tour of the history. Another time, we really just stayed near the port, and there's a cute little bar there where that has swings, and you can sit on the swings and kind of drink cocktails and watch the world go by. So it's a fun port over and over again.
Marvelous. Well, Colleen, thank you so much for joining us. I've had an awesome time talking with you. And
Great.
I'm hoping that, like, after this, I'm sure a lot of our viewers are going to be looking up Cruise Critic to and
Great.
looking for you on there. So, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. I hope the weather gets better up there in New Jersey. So,
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun.
all right, Colleen, thank you so much for sharing your expert knowledge with us, newbie cruisers and viewers. If you want to find out more and join in the fun, head at Cruise Critic, head over to cruisecritic.com, and there you can see reviews of ships and even individual cabins. And now we're going to move on to a question that I know all of our viewers have been wanting to know the answer to, and we finally have an answer for you. Did we win the live streaming awards? And the answer is, heck yes, we did. You all came together and voted us the #1 up-and-coming live streaming show, and that is its own reward. I love that. We showed everyone that cruising has a voice and we can be fun, and we thank you guys all so much for voting for us. And now, as a thank you, everyone who voted for us has been entered into our digital pot to win either a $100 Royal or Carnival gift card of their choice. So we're going to spin the wheel and see who has won. All right, and the winner is Melissa Dawson Bumpus. Congratulations, Melissa. We're going to be messaging you after the show on Facebook to get your address to mail you your gift card. Thank you so much again to everyone who voted for us and for the show. And now it's time for our photo of the week. Our photo of the week this week comes from the Facebook group RCL International Cruisers. This is a hard one, but we picked a fun photo from the group, and it features Angel Abar just outside Davao City in the Philippines. And remember, oh, she's that's a fire, like, it looks very tropical there. I love it. Anyway, remember, guys, we pick a new Facebook group photo group each week. So if you want your group featured, let us know by sending us an email or a message on Facebook, and your face could end up right here on Cruise Week TV. So, as I told you guys earlier in the show, Matt Hochberg is not here this week. He's out floating around in the sea on the Harmony of the Seas right now, but he did leave me a little message just to tease me. Didn't you, Matt?
Joe, what's going on, my man? I wish I was there this week. You know I love talking cruise all the time, but there's only one good reason that I'd be missing out talking cruise, and that would be being on a cruise ship. This week, I'm on Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas. I'm actually live blogging it at harmonyoftheseas.live, harmonyoftheseas.live, so you can follow along there, check out my photos on my progress, but don't worry, I'll be back eventually because my cruise will, at some point, end, I'm told. I'm not thinking about that right now, because right now, I'm probably having a drink, laying back, maybe hanging out in the pool, but I can't wait to talk with all of you about my experience at Harmony of the Seas when I return in a couple weeks. Until then, have a great time, and Joe, keep on rocking, man, or whatever it is you do for fun. Have a great one. See you guys.
You know, sick of all you people leaving me behind while you guys get to go cruising. One day, I will get to be on the ship with you all. Anyway, guys, the newest member of the Royal Caribbean's International Oasis class of ships, Symphony of the Seas, is now one step closer to full completion as her April 2018 debut approaches. With the exterior now complete, Symphony of the Seas was floated out of her dry dock to begin the next phase of interior construction. Symphony of the Seas is going to spend her inaugural summer season exploring the awe-inspiring destinations of the Mediterranean, calling on ports in Barcelona and Palma de Mallorca, Spain, Provence, France, Florence, Pisa, Rome, and Naples, Italy. She will then arrive in Miami in early November to begin 7-night Eastern and Western Caribbean itineraries. The Great American Eclipse, 99 years in the making, is already booking up. The 7-night sailing on Oasis of the Seas, which will cruise to the optimal spot at sea for guests to witness the total solar eclipse on August 21st, 2017. The optimal viewing area along the eclipse's path stretches across the country from Oregon to South Carolina before passing over the Atlantic Ocean. On this trajectory, the sun will be entirely covered by the moon, and a moment this unique deserves an equally impressive experience. I bet you never thought you'd do this on a cruise ship, did you? You know, guys, this show and all the wonderful abilities that we have to bring in guests remotely wouldn't be possible at the level we do without vMix. vMix is a live production software that powers our live show and many, many other high-end productions. From church services to football games, more and more live productions are running on vMix. What our producer Bird really liked when he was trying to improve our show was that they give you a full 60-day trial of everything. That way you can test it out risk-free before you buy for a full 2 months. Then they have systems starting at just $350. If you're going to do any sort of serious live streaming, you need vMix. Try it at vmix.com today. And guys, if you want to show support of cruiseweek.tv, our merch store is now open. You can get cups, shirts, hats, much, much more. Just head over to cruiseweek.tv/merch to check out our offerings. Also, before we wrap up tonight's show, I want to thank Kathy from RC Periscopers Group for helping us out in the Periscope chat room and for keeping order over there. Thank you very much, Kathy. And if you want to see a lot of live streams from people on ships, head over to RC Periscopers Group on Facebook for a list. If you like our shows, you may want to consider joining the Cruise Week Inner Circle. You can find out more about that by going to cruiseweek.tv/support. And with your support, it helps us bring you guys great videos and guests each week. It also helps us raise money to bring 5 more new cruisers on the trip of a lifetime. So head on over to cruiseweek.tv/support to see all that there is to offer over there. Matt Hen and Chally are going to be back next week with more cruise news and topics and helping you guys with your questions. So be sure to catch up next week. Matt also goes live every Wednesday night right here for a very informal Q&A where he gets to talk to you guys about anything and everything. And we all get to know each other just a little bit better that way. And if you know someone who's going to enjoy watching the show as much as you do, be nice and share the link to their Facebook wall. That way they can enjoy too. And that's it. That's all we have for you guys today. So until next time, I'm Joe. And stay fun, cruisers. Later.